But right now, going over to our other stage area, we have Denise Rossi Ritz, and she's also known as Pasta Mama.
Hello.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you
Yeah,
again.
good.
Thanks for having me back.
And she brought my favorite food because as an Italian, Easter was the best. Christmas, it was okay. We had the Wandi and we had the struffola and things like that. But Easter was it. And why is Easter good?
Because we make all the yummy pies and cookies. Everything's done homemade, by hand, and it just has that special flavor. As you know, growing up Italian.
Lemon,
it's
citron.
the flavor that just, it's Easter.
Yeah.
I think somebody said when I took the top off, they said, and that's
you can tell it's
exactly
Easter
what you want. It's
and the Easter bread.
Right.
Yeah, and
It's Easter
somebody says, "Oh, that's just challah bread," and I go, "Well, it is, but it isn't. It's because we got more flavor. The Italians like to get maybe a little anisette in there or something like that."
Yeah, we always throw a little of that in.
Yeah, I know that one of the things is when I talk to people about our Easter, and I say, "Oh yeah, we make Easter pies. We make the cheese, the ricotta pie. We make the pizzicato, which is with ham and sausage," and they go, "That doesn't sound very sweet."
Right, it doesn't. But when they try it, they're like,
Doesn't have to
wow.
be sweet, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, good. So what do you brought now? And these look just like my mom's.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. That means a lot because knowing the work it takes to achieve one pie, let alone what we do at Easter, it comes from the heart.
And you have to be careful because they'll sink if you don't do it
Or
right,
crack.
and you've got to use the pan that
You have to use good ingredients, and that's what I pride myself on. My mom, it's everything I know. I grew up doing at 2 years old, so I kind of
Yeah,
just
me
fell
too.
into
Right at
it.
my mother's knee.
Yeah.
Well, no, not my mother's table.
When I was a kid, it was a specialty to be able to be in the kitchen with my mom and my aunts and my gran. From the Italian food is one thing, but Easter was such a thing. Aside from making our homemade pastas, what I brought today is what was a specialty for us.
Okay, well, let's start over here with the cookies.
Okay.
'Cause I would say those those are great. I love them. But those also are what my mom would call bride cookies.
Yeah, a lot of people call them wedding cookies. Some people over the years have called them rosettes, but they're a wedding cookie.
Yeah.
I put a little bit of the anise in.
Oh, you gotta
of
put the anise.
course. So I call them Angenettes.
Okay.
And they're strictly like if you were to pull up the recipe, it's that, but plus my twist. I would
Are these
say-
your mom's recipes, or did you devise them?
So it starts out with my mom's recipes that I remember like 30 years ago moving into my own apartment and writing my mom's recipes down. But we still talk about food. She lives in Florida now, so we still talk 2-3 times a day. It's always about food. And the kids, of course.
Yeah.
But
The kids?
I know, right? But it's the traditional recipe, but I call it with a twist.
Okay.
Because that's what I do. I may not do everything by the strict Italian rules like some, of the different kinds of families, depending where you're from, are very strict with ingredients. I just say it's traditional with a twist.
Yeah.
So
Well,
these,
what's funny is that I don't know about your mom's recipes, but my mom would say, "Well, you take about so much flour, and then you put the egg, and then you knead it until it feels right."
right, or until it comes off the sides,
Yeah,
or a palm, a pinch. All those really do come into play. So I have started writing out recipes, but it takes me time to do so because, especially like if I'm doing
What's a
something
pinch?
right, if I'm doing something like stuffed artichokes, which
Oh, I love stuffed
I
artichokes.
mean, if you've seen on social media, I just posted a video about that, and it's tricky because a lot of it's just how it feels, the texture, the taste, but it can still be written in a recipe, which I have.
Yeah.
But
See, I don't have a recipe for my stuffed artichoke. I put the capers in, and I use anchovies and a little, cheese and stuff. Yeah.
that sounds so good.
Yeah, so I don't have a recipe. I just kind of I chop some garlic and I do that and then I throw that in and I do.
And that's exactly how I started. And then it turned into people wanting recipes, and it just became a thing, like my name and kind of like what I do. So I do write it into recipes now if people want to ask. And eventually I'll get that website. That'll come in time. I'm always working with my hands.
Yeah.
and get to that
Well,
stuff.
are you going to be one of those people that puts up a recipe and leaves one of the ingredients out because you don't want anybody to know
No,
exactly?
because I feel it would reflect on me, just like how I cook. I care about, obviously, if you look at detail.
Okay, so we talked about I call them the bride cookies, rosettes. What do you want to call them?
I call them Angenettes. So it's a basic recipe, but with a twist.
Okay, I can't help it. Keep talking.
And I, of course, decorate every single tray I do. So when you get something from me, you know it's going to be decorated because it goes back to.
Those are amazing.
Thank you.
Those are just like my mom's.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love, my favorite compliment isn't
Oh my
so
God.
much
Oh,
about
excuse
how
me.
good the food is. It's more about somebody telling me that it tastes like their mom's, or it tastes like their grams, or it reminds me of their great aunt. And that's what I love to do. That's what I bring to people and I bring to their houses, is that home cooking, not so much the strict chef. I'll just throw whatever in it. Hey, I decide to change things up, and this is what I'm doing this time.
The texture on these cookies is
Each one is done by
perfect.
hand.
No, the texture is perfect.
Thank you.
Because sometimes you get them and they're really kind of dry and stuff.
Right.
That's why I never buy them out.
So it's funny you say that because my son, he's 23 now. And when he was working with me back 10 years ago when I kind of went off on this venture, I would have him roll cookies a specific way. And sometimes if I'm rushing doing other things, I'll come and do a couple. And, Mom, that's not tight enough.
There you go. But these
So
are
and it
these are
reminds me,
amazing.
and my daughter's 14 now, and now she takes over. Like she rolled all the cookies, she chopped
These,
up
these
all
are.
the.
I gotta say, because I've had these, and like
Yeah.
I get a craving and I buy them in the store. I make my own, but I buy them in the store,
But
and
it's
it's
nice
like,
to have.
oh.
Well, people say they cook, but it's nice to have somebody come and do it for you too. It's like going to get your hair done or any other treatment that you get done. It's a treat.
Yeah. So now we're going to talk
Okay.
about the 3 pies, which are not sweet. They're actually a pie that's
Very
served.
savory.
Yeah, and I don't serve it like after dinner sometimes.
See, this is what I did to display. So if you ever got a pie from me, you'll see it comes in a 9-inch deep pan. So the pan can actually be, it's an aluminum pan, so you could just cut it right off.
Yeah.
The pie's so firm, you could just place it on a tray. And then how we cut it, because it can be served as a breakfast item, it can be served as a snack. Somebody comes over and you give a little piece. It's not like you're
No,
going to
you
cut
don't cut
a
it like a
triangle
pie.
piece of,
No,
oh my
no,
God,
no,
that'd
no.
be so much because they're so
No,
rich.
no,
I mean, you're
no.
talking butter, heavy cream, real hearty, good regal. I mean, you're talking
Your good stuff.
The good stuff.
Yeah, we're
And
not
hence-
talking about skim stuff.
Right. So when you get a pie, so this one here is the rice, which of course has
I
risotto.
love the
in
rice,
it.
yeah.
It's not just rice, it's risotto.
Yeah.
And it's sat and savored, and I cook it in milk.
You put citron in that?
No, actually, my rice pie, I've diverted, like I
Okay,
said
yeah.
before. I do a little bit of cinnamon.
Cinnamon. Okay, yeah.
Just a
cinnamon's
touch,
good.
not
yeah.
a lot. It's not rice puddingy.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you see this one's the rice pie, you could see because I
Yeah.
made another pie to cut it so you can see
Yeah,
what it
no, it
looks
looks
like on
good.
the inside. And then this is the regatta pie, and as you
It's
can
not
tell,
a cheesecake
It's
per se.
not a cheese. No, it is not a cheesecake. It is a very rich.
It's got a lot of eggs
dense-
in it and stuff.
And I do what you see on top. I do the fresh lemon zest.
Lemon zest.
And the orange zest, and that just makes it just pop.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
Now, when you make the pizza gain, now we used to use three meats in it.
Mm-hmm.
One was like the cured sausage, the air cured sausage,
Mm-hmm.
the ham, and the prosciutto.
right. So I don't do sausage. I just do the prosciutto.
Because it's hard to find that sausage anyway.
Yeah, I just do the prosciutto, and I use baked ham.
Okay.
So it's really good quality meats, as you
Okay.
could tell. I mean, each pie weighs between 3 and 4 pounds.
Oh yeah.
Just-
They're not light.
Right. And so, of
She
course,
carried them in all by herself.
no, my son actually came because I knew from last year. So I said, honey, can you come? And he knows. He's
Yeah.
always again,
your-
23, he's still my little boy.
Of course.
So that's the meat pie. And so again, you cut into that and you can see, I mean, it's kind of heavy to lift and show the camera. Every bite you take, you're going to get ham, prosciutto, you're going to get the cheeses, you're going to
There's
get
eggs
that
in it,
nut-
yeah.
Oh, each pie probably has, let's see, 6
It's
or
a
7
lot.
eggs.
Yeah, not only that-
It's a lot of stuff in one pie. And it takes time.
It's a tradition.
It's a tradition.
Yeah.
And we really slave over it. But it became like people wanted pies and they started ordering from me. And, you can go to any of the Italian delis and get pies, but this is what it's going to look like if, you were to have me cook it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
it's
say from my
wonderful.
kitchen to yours. And it's all just happy home cooking. So.
And now the Easter bread. I
And of
love Easter
course,
bread. Oh
the
my
Easter
God.
bread, right? The Easter bread was always the biggest treat for us.
Oh,
And-
breakfast. You have to have Easter bread.
And
For,
sometimes, you put just a little bit of butter. Why not make it more rich with like the ton
yeah,
of butter?
it's not
that's
rich
in-
enough. Let's add butter.
And then again, you're talking heavy cream, you're talking the butter, you're talking the sugar.
It's wonderful.
But it's such a treat. And I decorate it and again, if you get something from me, it's going to have candy, because the candy now goes back to my grandmother, who always had a candy drawer. And all us grandkids always loved, we would always get candy, and she would fill it just for us. And I became a candy lover. And
No, it's
hence now it's part of my family, something I did in my past, and I bring it to my plates now. Ribbons, candy, I mean, I have a whole room full of candies
Decorative
and ribbons
candy,
and decorative
yeah.
stuff, and like you see I do on my cakes.
Yeah.
And that's another fun thing I like to do.
Now, we showed some pictures, I think, of some of the things that she's made, but just because we're looking at the Easter treats, she also does regular food.
Yeah.
And you do birthday cakes, so you do them all. And I don't know when do you sleep?
I find time somewhere along the line. Might be
Yeah.
on the couch, because I know I have to go right into the kitchen, but
Yeah, I think
there's
they
always time.
They just showed some. Yeah, let's look at some of those pictures. Yeah, they're just wonderful.
And again, it's just food that I grew up with, that I fell into this type of work. And, the story goes, I met somebody in a backyard party, and he asked me to cook for him, and it became a thing. He named me Pasta Mama, and it became a thing. And here I am, 10 years later, cooking my mom's food.
you
for
either love to
everybody.
cook or you don't. And
And it's-
you and I are cookers.
Exactly. And then, you up it when you're cooking for 100 people. But of course, it's not a problem for me. I never knew I had it in me. I might have done it, 30 years ago when I was looking, figuring out what I was going to do in my career.
Well, she does have a card. That if you were here in the room, you can see the card. And she's Pasta Mama, and she says homemade Italian foods. And
Yeah,
believe me, she
that's
does
it.
it. She does dinners, you cater, you do everything.
Oh, yeah. I'll come right to your house, and I will cook the food right at your house. Home style. Everything is home style. Everything is, I'm in the kitchen, and I talk to your guests and have fun with it. And I end up becoming somebody's distant cousin, and
Why
we just
not?
have fun, right? It's just all about fun. I don't do it to be, oh my gosh, you have to eat this with this. It's all just fun food. Food brings people together. You smile when you eat food. I have so many, I'm always talking about old memories and growing up as a kid. Things
There's
that
always stories.
There's always stories. And even with my kids, they tell stories because they hear my stories constantly. And it's just became a thing.
Right.
And so here's where I put my heart and soul.
Well, I'm telling you, your heart and soul is right on the table here, and I got to say these cookies are amazing, and I can't wait to try the rest afterwards. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for
I mean,
having me
I just
again.
love talking to you because she's one of my new relatives. One of my new relatives.
See, through food, you find distant cousins or you make them.
Absolutely,
The ones you
absolutely.
get to choose.
Yeah,
So,
no, this
thank
is
you so
great.
much.
Yeah,
I
thank you so
appreciate
much
it.
for bringing your treats for our audience to try.
And I
Anyway.
even brought takeout containers for
Okay,
people.
okay, good. Thank you so much. Okay.
right.